Hello, I would like to take you on a journey into the world of professional wrestling. This is the Rasslin Report. Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rasslin Report, where I talk nothing but my passion, and that's wrestling. I'm your host, John Ale, and I'd like to thank you very much for watching and listening, or whatever you're doing. And we've got a big week this week. We're building up towards the Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks, and even more the Umbrella WrestleMania 42, which in my mind is prepping up to be a pretty good one, despite all the fears that some fans may have with what could be booked and what couldn't be booked. I think with what we have right now going into WrestleMania and the Elimination Chamber, I think we have some potential to cook. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. But one more time before I get things going, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe if you like what you're listening to. And I've got a playlist of all my other episodes. New episode out every Monday. I think I'm going to have a new recording date due to the studio actually being open on the weekends. I actually figured that out yesterday. So I'm going to have to start recording these things over the weekend. So I'll be saying Sunday morning probably more often than Monday morning. So that's good to know. I am back in the studio. I love the studio. But without any further ado, we'll go ahead and kick off Monday Night Raw. And before this show even starts, we see CM Punk and AJ Lee together again. This is the first time we've seen AJ Lee since Survivor Series War Games, where she took on Becky Lynch and her team. Becky Lynch and AJ Lee have a big beef right now, the big underlying beef. And Becky sees that AJ Lee's back, and she's infuriated. So she comes out to the ring, storming out there, title in hand, hair in face. You can't even see where she's going because she's got like a big strand of hair over her glasses. She comes out and says she can only take so much disrespect. She is infuriated by a certain superstar returning tonight. But before she could say her name, AJ Lee, the very person that she was talking about, skips her jolly way down to the ring to, I would assume, confront her. This is the first time she's returned to the WWE in over a decade. The first time she left WWE was back in 2015, WrestleMania 31. After that, she kind of went off and did her own thing, basically a year and some change after Punk did. And so she first came back to the WWE for the first time in like a decade back in September of last year for WrestlePalooza, in which she teamed up with her husband CM Punk to take on Seth Rollins and his wife Becky Lynch. So this feud's been going on since September of last year, I would imagine. AJ says she's not here for Becky Lynch tonight, but she's here to support Maxine Dupree, who has a match tonight. Becky calls AJ a little chihuahua who just keeps barking all the time around her and ruining her life. But AJ responds that Becky's being a tad bit dramatic, and she really hasn't done anything to her, except beat her at WrestlePalooza in her first match back in September, and beat her in the Women's War Games back in Survivor Series, and on top of that, cost her Intercontinental Championship against Maxine Dupree. So she has done a lot. She's just trying to rage bait Becky Lynch in the most awesome manner. And I mean, Becky Lynch did not like these comments. She was starting to laugh like a psycho. She was unhinged all the time. AJ was looking at her perplexed. AJ Lee, of all people. And if you know anything about AJ Lee, if some of you know anything about AJ Lee, she's her own little dose of crazy. But just looking at Becky over there, she was just in awe of how crazy she was acting. Becky wants to find a way for this to end once and for all and looks towards the Elimination Chamber in Chicago, AJ's hometown, Punk's hometown. She wants to embarrass her on that stage, and that's her target. She asks if AJ really wants this opportunity, though, to quote unquote have her blood all over the canvas in front of her friends and family. AJ takes it as a compliment and finds it so flattering that Becky would challenge her to such a match. But she hasn't had a singles match in about a decade, so it would have to be worth something special. So she looks right at that Intercontinental Championship that Becky's got on her shoulder and makes a proposition. She wants a match, but for her Intercontinental Championship. And Becky says no to this. She does not want a title match. She just wants a match. She doesn't want to have to put her Intercontinental title on the line. She says about no a million times and says that AJ's not even a part of the Raw roster and she just showed up. She cannot just get title matches whenever she wants and all this crap. But who started this feud, right? Becky Lynch started this feud when she put her hands on CM Punk. So AJ obviously still remembers that and doesn't want to forget that. Can't blame her for that. But AJ says that that's fine. She says it's fine that a title match won't happen. She'll just be heading back to Chicago now. She just wanted to show up for Maxine. She'll show up for Maxine, and then that's it. You don't get me. No title match, no match at all. And then Becky, of course, is wanting this fight. She wants this fight no matter what. And so she immediately stops AJ Lee and reconsiders right at that moment. She says, fine, 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 you've got it. You've got your match. You've got it. I don't think it's been official yet, but I believe we'll be getting Becky Lynch and AJ Lee for the Women's Intercontinental Championship at the Elimination Chamber, which I'm all for, and I feel like it'll then build up after that to a WrestleMania match between the two. Reports have been blazing about them going to WrestleMania in a match, so we'll see how that goes. I think we'll be getting a women's title match, at least for now, for the Elimination Chamber. So that alone makes the card pretty stacked. We then cut to the Usos in the Alpha Academy for the World Tag Team Championships. Alpha Academy won a number one contendership tag team match to get this opportunity a few weeks ago. I just didn't know when I was going to be covering this thing, but we are now covering this thing. And I think we all know for the most part who was going to end up winning this match. But I think it's important to note that Alpha Academy put in their stuff. You know, they had time to shine. The dynamic between the two of them is great. I'm always going to enjoy that. They're a lot of fun. They're super entertaining if they get the time to do it. Tozawa does a lot of cool back and forth dives. He has a really funny persona. He's all full of energy. Otis is full of energy. They're just fun to watch. And I hope one day they do get the tag team titles because I think they deserve it. And I think one day, once teams like the Usos and the New Day or whatever step out, then someone's got to step up. So I think Alpha Academy is a solid option. But the Usos did end up getting the win here, and they are still the World Tag Team Champions. It's obvious where they're keeping them at right now, and I like that because I think Jay had his time in the singles run. I think he had his time on the singles scene. I don't think it's something, honestly, that's meant for him. That does not mean that he didn't earn it and deserve it because he got over with that crowd and he earned every bit of it. But I don't know if it's something you can consistently keep him in. So I think keeping him in the mid card scene is a great idea if you want to keep the single idea going. Because him being Intercontinental Champion, that's not a bad idea. Because he used to be an Intercontinental Champion. And I think if you're gonna make one twin a champion, then what leaves the other twin? Jimmy feels like, well, why can't I get my singles title? Anyway, so I'm glad that they're back in a tag team. I think their best work comes when they're together as a team. We saw that with the Bloodline, and if we can see that in a different fashion, I think they can still be relevant, they can still be over, and they can still get the crowd eating without winning a world title. So I like where they are. I like that they're back together. It just makes sense. It really does. So, however, Jimmy wants Jay to win his qualifying match. He wants Jay to go to the chamber. He wants Jay to go to WrestleMania. The singles aspirations are still there for the Usos. Jimmy's like Jay's biggest cheerleader, cheering him on as he goes on and tries to go again to repeat last year when he won the Rumble and Jay won the world title at WrestleMania. So Jimmy just wants a back-to-back run. We then cut to a Liv Morgan segment with her and her boyfriend, the Intercontinental Champion, the men's Intercontinental Champion, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. They come out to the ring, and Liv is still undecided on her opponent for WrestleMania. But before she can say she's the greatest Rumble winner of all time, greatest whatever of all time, Dominic stops her and hands her a big bouquet and some chocolate. Congratulates her for her greatness and Liv says she'll, quote, give him his gift later. So, I mean, you can connect the dots on that one. But it was a very nice gesture, I guess, by Dom, and I guess Liv is going to repay it tenfold. Yikers. Liv says that both Jade Cargill and Stephanie Vaquer are afraid of her because no matter who she picks at WrestleMania, they will lose. I don't know if that's the case. I really don't know. Like, you're probably going to beat them, but they're not afraid of you. No. Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer comes out and has heard enough. She says Liv talks too much and then proceeds to talk shit in Spanish to not her, only her, but to Dominic, who's the only one in the ring other than her that understands what she's saying. So after she's done speaking in Spanish, Liv asks Dominic to translate what the hell she just said. But he's hesitant. He doesn't want to tell her. Because I'm sure what Stephanie said was a whole lot of crap that I'm sure he doesn't want to repeat to Liv. So instead of replying to Liv, she just starts not she. Dominic's not she. Dominic proceeds to talk mess to Stephanie Vaquer in Spanish. And when Liv asks Dominic once again to translate what he just told her, I mean, she's hyping Dominic up. She's like, oh yeah, talk your shit, Dom. And he's talking in Spanish. And so Liv eventually asks Dom what she just said to her. And then Stephanie comes up to Liv's face and replies, he said he's a little bitch. And the whole crowd erupted. What a line. I love it. And then Liv is, of course, offended by this and proceeds to call her ugly, and that she couldn't wear her, quote, hot girls love Dom shirt, which she had on that night. I mean, big flex, but okay. Clearly over this whole situation, Stephanie Vaquer just says she hopes Liv picks her for WrestleMania so that she can whoop her ass. But before fully leaving the ring, Liv stops her to say just one more line. And that she's not rushing to make her choice on either Stephanie Vaquer or Jade Cargill. She proceeds to call her a punta, which is, in English, a bitch, which enrages her to the point where Stephanie slaps Dom in the face and walks away. So that's how our segment ends. I think we're more than likely heading towards Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer for the women's world title at WrestleMania. She could go after Jade Cargill, but I don't see the need. This already has more juice in the tank, I think, than her and Jade. And I'll get into her and Jade because her and Jade had a scuffle on Friday too. So I mean, we'll go into that. But this was a strong segment. I mean, I like it. Liv's very entertaining. She's a great heel. She does a good job, and I think it's an intriguing match. So I'm intrigued by Stephanie and Liv. So we'll see how it goes. We get to our first Elimination Chamber qualifying match of the night with Rhea Ripley, Lyra Valkyria, and Ivy Nile. Talk about a mismatch. I love Lyra Valkyria, and I think Ivy has a lot of potential. But Rhea Ripley is one of the most over superstars on the roster. She's not losing this match. She's just not. Even if she's women's tag team champion, it does not matter. So Lyra Valkyria and Ivy Nile actually put up a good fight, as they should. You gotta always make the other two women at least look somewhat strong in the thing. Because you can't have Rhea dominating the whole thing. Rhea Ripley and Lyra had a pretty cool sequence, countering each other early. I mean, that's a nice little bit. And another cool spot comes where Ivy Nile is tied upside down on the top rope. This is a really cool This is a really cool segment. So Lyra's legs are like tied up on the top, so she's kind of like dangling down, and then uh, Rhea and Lyra are setting up for a superplex on top of her. And so Ivy does this incredible sit up, grabs Rhea, and then starts the sequence. So she gives Rhea a German suplex, and then Rhea is giving Lyra a superplex. So all this happens. I'll show you a visual of it. It's a really neat visual. And so it was a cool spot in the match. I really like that. One thing that I like about Lyra too, I have found that she knows when to fire up those crowds. Like she knows the right times to fire up the crowds. She has her own little chant. She has her own little thing that can get the crowd going. She's a super good baby face, I think. I don't think they've ever even explored her as a heel yet in any aspiration. But I like her as a baby face. I think her stuff with Becky kind of got her started. I think it was a solid opening feud to introduce the world to Lyra Valkyria. So I can keep glazing all three of these women all day, but that doesn't matter here. We got to figure out who wins. After a good showing by all three women, eventually it was indeed Rhea Ripley who hit a riptide on Lyra Valkyria for the win and will join Tiffany Stratton in the Women's Elimination Chamber match. It's official. We've got Tiffany and Rhea as of this moment. I mean, I'm going to keep talking about it later. So yeah, I mean, Rhea Ripley just makes sense for an Elimination Chamber match. I don't think she'll win the Chamber match, but she was going to be in the Chamber match. I mean, come on. Her and Andy will end up being in the Chamber match. We cut to a backstage segment where we see the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez, Dominic Mysterio, and Liv Morgan out in their clubhouse. Dom is recovering from the slap by Stephanie Vaquer. They check on their fellow member, Finn Balor, who's just sitting arched over, looking a little, I don't know, upset, I guess is the right word to put it. He has a frustrated look into those Irish eyes, and Dominic tells Finn that it'll be okay. And that fellow Judgment Day member, JD McDonough, will be coming back soon, and they can go after the World Tag Team titles again. Yeah, I mean, JD, we haven't heard from JD in a while. He suffered an injury. I can't recall the injury as I'm talking to you. But he could be coming back soon, and him and Finn Balor were tag team champions a few times. So Dominic sees this as an opening for Finn, a potential for Finn to get back on track. But Finn is still focused on CM Punk and the world title, and he's tired of being an afterthought. That's what he said. He's tired of being an afterthought. And he walks away hurt by what Dom said. So once again, another week, some more Judgment Day turmoil that will probably one day blow up, probably WrestleMania, I don't know. The Holy Judgment Day turmoil. It's happening every week. We didn't even see Raquel come out with her and Dom. So, it's all kind of falling apart. But basically, after commercial break, this happens before a commercial break, but we see Finn Balor come out. So he's like, as soon as he leaves the Judgment Day clubhouse, it seems, I guess he's heading right towards the ring. He comes out storming and thinks that everyone seems to forget what he did to CM Punk 2 weeks ago, and claims Punk is hurt and he knows it because he hurt him. Finn's right. We just forgot about it. The Royal Rumble happened without a hitch. He wasn't even a part of the match. I think he earned it, and he's upset about it. He's still upset about it. Again, I'm justified with Finn here. He has his own reasons to be upset. He wants Punk for the World Heavyweight title at Elimination Chamber, saying that he wants to pay a receipt for losing in his hometown. He wants to get payback on Punk for beating him in his hometown of Belfast, Ireland. And then now he wants to challenge Punk at Elimination Chamber in Chicago and beat him for the world title in his hometown as payback. So Raw General Manager Adam Pearce comes out and shuts all this down, saying it's too late and the main event of WrestleMania is already set with Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and tells him to leave before he has security make him. And CM Punk immediately comes out, guns blazing. Punk wasn't going to let this end like that. He heard everything Finn had to say. And Adam Pearce informs him, pleads with him not to get into that ring. He begs him not to get into that ring. He does not want to jeopardize this crucial main event of WrestleMania. But Punk manages a way in. And Balor runs away from the scene and stands on top of the announce table. And we get this really cool visual of Punk standing on the apron of the ring and Finn standing on the announce table, all blocked by Pearce and security. It's such a neat visual. I'll show it to you. This thing's going to get really good. I can tell you it's going to get really good. Punk grabs a mic and says he is not an afterthought to him, but his first thought, and that Finn doesn't deserve a title shot. He deserves an ass whooping, and challenges him to step into that ring right that minute. Punk is not playing. Punk is not playing. Finn has now become someone he has to handle now before it gets worse. So Punk just wants to settle this right now. But Finn says no. Only because it's not for the title. He wants it to be for the title. He wants the world title. He hasn't won a world title in a decade. He wants that world title so bad. And Punk accepts it. I mean, he wants Finn. He wants him bad. And he wants him tonight in Cleveland. Not the Elimination Chamber, but tonight in Cleveland. But before they can probably start getting to brawling and fisticuffs, Adam Pearce shuts all of this down and refuses to put the WrestleMania main event in jeopardy. But Punk does not like the sound of that. And Punk says it does not matter what Pearce says. If he does not book this match, he'll just spend the rest of the night looking for Finn and kicking his ass. This will not end unless you have booked this match between Punk and Balor. They have got to settle it. After a ton of pressure, and CM Punk being the world champion refusing to give up on his stance, Adam Pearce gives in. He gives in and makes it official for the World Heavyweight Championship at Elimination Chamber. And Finn is content. That's all he wanted. He got what he wanted, and he walks away. And now Punk's in the ring with Michael Cole, obviously fired up after all this stuff. And he finishes by saying he's doing this to be the fighting champion the people want to see, and that he's chasing greatness and will beat anyone in his way to do it. He then calls out Roman Reigns, who isn't in the building, per usual, and doesn't believe that Roman hates him, but instead he hates the fact that he cannot stop CM Punk. What a promo by Punk. I mean, what a segment. This match is going to be cool. Obviously, Finn isn't going to beat Punk. We're going to keep this Punk and Roman train going, but gosh, this is going to be good. I like it. We got 2 more weeks to build this thing up, and this thing's gotten really good. So, I'm stoked for it. We cut to a backstage segment where Adam Pearce has just kicked Finn Balor out of the building. This is post-commercial. And he is confronted by the Vision and Paul Heyman, who shames Pearce for how he treated Braun Breaker last week, saying he went home, he was lifting weights, and ended up with a hernia, and says it's Pearce's responsibility for what happened to him. If you recall from what I said last week, Braun Breaker, or maybe I did, or maybe I didn't. For some reason I don't remember. But Braun Breaker apparently had a real hernia. This is real. He's off for however long. I have to, again, check. But this is essentially Paul Heyman blaming Adam Pearce for the injury caused by Braun Breaker. Pearce understands that losing Braun Breaker is important for Raw. Big for Raw. He's one of their featured stars. But they should be focusing on Austin Theory's qualifying match for tonight. He's next up, right? Next man up mentality. If my Washington Commanders know anything about next man up, everybody got hurt and we had our 3rd stringers, 4th stringers, whatever stringers out there. So I get it. Absolutely. He tells the Vision not to get involved, no matter what. and Logan Paul is not happy about that and asks Adam Pearce what he's going to do if they don't, or if they do interfere in this match. What are you going to do about it? But Big Bronson Reed, obviously understands the situation's getting a little dicey, and he backs Logan off, saying, "He's my problem now," in his Aussie accent. I'm not good at Aussie accents. But the Vision seemed to have a target for Adam Pearce. Uh, so I would not be surprised if they eventually lay hands on Adam Pearce in some crazy display. But we then cut to Maxine Dupree and Natty. This is probably a blow-off match between these two. Potentially will continue past this. I don't know. This was the match that AJ Lee said she was here for tonight anyway. This is the first time that we get the match between these two since Natty betrayed Maxine Dupree, cost her the Intercontinental Championship. Natty's really the reason why Becky Lynch is Intercontinental Champion right now. Because she cost Maxine Dupree's opportunity. But this thing immediately goes crazy. Maxine immediately puts Natty into her ankle lock, but Natty breaks out and hits another one onto the floor. So Maxine's going crazy with this ankle lock. She's really trying to just tap Natty out. This isn't really about a match and about who's winning. These two are just going to beat the crap out of each other. But Natty eventually breaks out, and she starts hitting her own sharpshooters, or her classic sharpshooter submission. Hits one on the floor, hits one onto the announce table. She won't let go of Maxine Dupree. So this match is officially ended. This thing wasn't really going anywhere, and it was off the rails quick. And AJ Lee comes out to try and support Maxine, try to support her friend, and Natty runs away from the situation. And that's that for Natty, at least. And as AJ's getting Maxine up, as they're walking away, probably to get medical treatment, Becky Lynch attacks AJ Lee, throwing her into the post. So, Becky Lynch has gotten the last laugh on the night, and I believe that this feud between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch has gotten one step closer to some crazy-ass stuff. So, overall, this really wasn't a match. This was just kind of building story, and that's what WWE absolutely needs to do at this particular time. Because speaking of stories, I actually have somewhat decent of a story to report here for the El Grande Americanos. There actually seems to be a story that seems to be occurring. Thank God. But once again, we get Javon Evans, the young OG, the future of the WWE, teaming up with a mystery partner against Los Americanos, Bravo and Rayo Americano, with El Grande Americano 2 at ringside. I know, it's such a mouthful every time I have to cover this stuff. It's just crazy. It's just basically the same kind of match, just different people in it. Javon Evans' mystery opponent ended up being the original El Grande Americano. I mean, who would have guessed? He just came back at the Rumble and seems to finally being able to tell a story here. Michael Cole, during the match, asks the real questions. I mean, he asks who exactly owns the right to this gimmick and why everything is so confusing with all the Americanos. You're speaking to a whole group of people, Cole, that understand that. This is getting ridiculously silly with how many Americanos there actually are, and trying to determine who's what. If you're not a 15-year wrestling fan like I am, and you're watching this stuff for the first time, you're confused to hell. I mean, it's just something needs to be done, and it looks like they're finally starting to tell a story. I'll get into the story. The original El Grande Americano hits a diving headbutt onto Bravo Americano for the win. Javon Evans hit this crazy cutter on, I think it was Bravo. One of the cooler cutters I've seen in a long time. This kid's got a future in the business. He really does. But as soon as they win, El Grande 2 attacks the original El Grande and Javon Evans from behind after the match and tries to take the masks off the original, aka Chad Gable, but he reverses it, and just before we could see who El Grande 2 was, because his mask was now starting to get pulled, he's pulled out of the ring by the Americano gang and retreat. So maybe we'll finally start to figure out in the coming weeks who these people are so they can quickly move away from this gimmick as quickly as possible. Keyword quickness. We gotta move with the quickness. And it seems like we're finally telling a story since the first time they introduced this gimmick. So I'm just, hopefully, it's the end. That's all I can hope for. We cut to a backstage segment where Gunther is asked about why he attacked Dragon Lee in the manner which he did last week, and he says that he doesn't care about Dragon Lee or any of that. He is focused on his Elimination Chamber qualifying match next week against, speak of the devil, Javon Evans and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. And he says that he will walk out of WrestleMania WWE Champion. He will defeat Drew McIntyre, who is the only person left to challenge, and he will become WWE Champion. He's going to beat Javon Evans and Dominic Mysterio. So he doesn't have, I don't know. Gunther could go all the way. He doesn't get much of a spotlight here this week, and that's fine. You don't need to have him out there every week. And obviously now he's out here just retiring people, so he's just waiting for a career to kill, I guess. That's his new gimmick. Anyway, so I don't know. He's going to be in the chamber match. He's definitely beating Javon Evans and Dominic Mysterio. He's going to go to the chamber match. Will he win? I don't know. Once I get the full 6 revealed for each side, I'll do predictions on who I think is going to win. But speaking of, we close off our show with a men's qualifier with L.A. Knight, Penta, and Austin Theory of the Vision. And this match had tons of stakes for these 3 guys. Because if they lose, who knows when they'll even have a match at WrestleMania. Because the card is so limited, you've only got to have so many people. And y'all know, maybe, how I already feel about LA Knight. I think he was the best choice to win this match. I'm always going to think LA Knight deserves a big win for a world title. He's too funny. He's too over. He cuts promos too well. He wrestles too good in the ring. I know that there are guys that are bigger and more over than him, but that does not disregard what LA Knight has done in that ring, outside of that ring, since he has rebranded himself from Eli Drake in TNA. This man only has so much time left in his career before he can get a world title and truly be recognized for being a world champion in this company. He's won US titles. Why can't he win the world title? Why can't he beat Drew? Bring him to SmackDown, because he ain't winning that title on Raw. Not with Roman Reigns hunting for it. Not with CM Punk hunting for it. Bring him to SmackDown. Have him beat Drew. That's more realistic. Because, he's not winning the chamber match. He's not. There's 3 more spots. Once this whole week's over. And you'll know exactly why I know he's not winning based off the 3rd spot in this match. Overall, I love LA Knight. I could rant about LA Knight every week. I'm not going to. But he wins this qualifier match. It was a solid qualifier match. Bunch of near falls. All 3 looking good. The Vision, unfortunately, get involved in this match and hit LA Knight with a tsunami. Security floods all the way out in the ring to kick him out. And then the Hooded Figure returns. The Hooded Figure that took out Braun Breaker at the Royal Rumble shows back up and hits Theory with a stomp on the floor. And he escapes again. We don't know who this Hooded Figure is. The Hooded Figure once again escapes. Without a cause, without a warning. We just don't know. It gives LA Knight the opportunity. That's how he wins. He will be with Randy Orton and the third opponent, who I will get into in a little bit. So overall, I think Monday Night Raw delivered. I don't think it was a bad show by any means. I think they did what they needed to do, and I just wish that certain circumstances were different. Um, but that's nothing that I can necessarily control anyway. So, that being said, we'll go on ahead and kick off Friday Night SmackDown, which honestly, in my mind, in my opinion, I believe did a little better than Raw this week. And usually, Raw is a little better than SmackDown on most weeks. But SmackDown delivered this week. I really like what SmackDown had to offer. I think there's a lot of entertaining parts of tonight. And obviously, a glaring one that I'll uh, get into later for the main event. But overall, I liked SmackDown. I think SmackDown did better than Raw this week, for sure. That's not usually the case, but it was the case this time. So, at least in my opinion. So, that's the beauty of different opinions. So we get to an opening segment. Our opening segment of the night was Tiffany Stratton. She addresses her Elimination Chamber qualifying win last week, one that I actually forgot to cover. So I apologized. I only noticed that in post production that I forgot to talk about Tiffany Stratton being the first spot in the chamber match. So Tiffany won her first spot in the chamber match last week, and she's excited about it. You know, she wants to get her title back after Jade Cargill beat her for it. You know, Jade's the champion right now because she beat Tiffany for it, right? So Tiffany just wants to get right back where she was beforehand, and that she's gonna say it. She's gonna do whatever it takes. And before she can say anything else, Nia Jax and Lash Legend come out and interrupt her and say that Tiffany is lucky that she won and it should have been Lash Legend instead. Tiffany wonders why Nia is still bothering her. Lash interrupts Tiffany by saying that she is the upgrade that the WWE needs, and she'll prove it tonight when they beat Rhea Ripley and Io Sky for the Women's Tag Team Championships. And then Nia will win her qualifying match next week and go to WrestleMania. So they have these same plans that a lot of teams have, you know, like they want to take Rhea and Io's tag titles and then when they're qualifying, go to WrestleMania and be a world champion, right? That's the goal of being a wrestler, at least from what I know. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky say that they shouldn't get too far ahead of themselves. They come out after hearing all this, and that they aren't doing any of that. They're not going to do any of that because Rhea will be in the chamber and Io will be in the chamber. They will knock everyone out until the two of them are left standing. And then at that point, may the best woman win. And then, you know, that kicks off our tag team title match that was already scheduled for tonight with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Nia Jax and Lash Legend for the women's tag team titles. So, Nia Jax, let's talk about Nia Jax for a second. I think it's easy to hate on her, because, I don't know, she makes it first of all, she's a heel, and then second of all, she's accidentally hurt people. She's gotten a lot of hate for that. But one thing I haven't seen at all is that since she has come back, none of that's really come up. I think Nia has improved in the ring on her promos. She's losing weight. She's looking 10 times better than she ever has. And people are blinded by the hatred or whatever, but she's doing a great job. And if she won't hear it from anyone else, she'll hear it from me. This match was fun to watch, you know, and I'll definitely say that Lash Legend is the future. But we already knew who was winning this match. Nia and Lash have a good control of this match and throughout. The hot tag with Rhea was eventually going to happen, but it was constantly being thwarted. Io was getting beat up most of the time. And then when she's eventually gotten enough separation, she sets up the hot tag. And then once that hot tag happens to Rhea Ripley, chaos basically breaks out. Rhea hits a huge power bomb to Nia, and now these two teams are brawling on the outside, and the referee double counts both of their teams out. Neither team got back in the ring in 10 seconds. The brawling just continues. This was a really cool little bit. Lash Legend brings out a Slim Jim table and sets it up on the floor and attempts to put Rhea on it as Nia goes to the top rope to potentially jump off and put Rhea through it. Lash then spears Rhea Ripley through a barricade instead because Io thwarted it and put Nia through the table instead, albeit a little short. It looked a little weird, but that's okay. That's okay. It was still really cool to see in the moment. We always find that fun. But once Rhea Ripley broke out, Lash then spears her through a barricade. So all 4 women are down. Holy shit chants begin to reign in the arena. This is really solid. This builds up both of these teams and sets up Nia and Lash. I think they'll end up being tag champions eventually. Because look, somebody's gonna have to beat Rhea and Io, right? They can't be champions forever. And when I look at the tag team hierarchy, Nia and Lash are kind of up there, right? That are the Bella Twins who have just returned. So, I don't know. I think it'll eventually end up being theirs. But it won't be tonight. They were denied by Rhea and Io, aka Rio. We cut to a backstage segment where Cody Rhodes is in an interview talking about his qualifying match tonight and what makes him so sure that he can still punch his ticket to WrestleMania, despite Drew McIntyre constantly screwing him at every opportunity. Cody Rhodes replies with the fact that he knows the world will be watching tonight and that he's going to be in there with 2 guys who have never been hungrier for a world title shot. But he says that when pressure piles up, he reminds himself of where he is, and that he is 2 matches away from the main event of WrestleMania, and that he's in Dallas tonight. He finishes by saying he would normally say not to bet against him, but certainly not in Texas. Cody is 100% confident. He's got history in Texas. He's glad to be here. He's got hatred for Drew. He wants Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania no matter what. And you can tell it. He's got the fire in his eyes. But we then cut to another backstage segment where we've got the men's United States champion, Carmelo Hayes. He's walking down the hallway, just chilling. And he's stopped by Apollo Crews and Matt Cardona. It's good to see Apollo Crews back on television. It really is. Apollo Crews says that he appreciates the work that Hayes has put in to make that championship what it is. And as a former U.S. champion himself, he'd like another shot at it. Matt Cardona also notes that he's also a former champion and is not back just to be back, but to win gold. But Mello respectfully declines for this week for both of these guys, as somebody who's already asked to fill the spot. And before he gets to move on to the ring to go face Ilya Dragunov, who he promised would get this match tonight, Miz confronts him. And Miz says he's just been handing opportunities to anyone. And Mello says, anyone but you. To which Miz replies with he's been the locker room leader since John Cena left. And he's the same guy he's always been. He's still that guy. And that Mello is violating his 3 core values, which are inspire, master, and zone in. And tonight, he will zone in on teaching Mello some respect. And Mello finishes with a crazy line, saying, quote, I hope you can teach better than you can wrestle. And just walks away. Miz gets disrespected on the constant. Crazy line. Do you know what that man has done in his career? He has done so much. You can't say that. Anyway, we get to a commercial and then we come back to an Aleister Black vignette. Aleister Black and Zelina talk about losing their Elimination Chamber qualifying matches last week to Randy Orton. And he says that the performance Randy Orton gave reminded him of his 2009 days. Yikes. If you want to do some research on 2009 Randy Orton, brutal. Absolutely brutal. But you can't help but wonder what happens if Cody will also win his qualifying match tonight. And what kind of roads Randy will choose to go down. No pun intended. Will he go down the road of being a good guy and trying to just uplift Cody, or is he going to take the selfish route and go back to those old school Viper days and doing whatever it takes to be world champion? Because that's what's gotten him that world title. It's clear what they're trying to do. They're trying to get into Randy's head, right? Trying to sow some seeds of doubt. And then Zelina follows up Black's words by talking about Julia and Alexa Bliss with their qualifying match tonight. And Alexa Bliss's friendship with Charlotte being in question, saying that one of them holds her former United States Championship, which is Julia, and the other is faking a friendship with Charlotte Flair, which is Alexa Bliss. And Zelina also wonders how she can break them apart slowly and mentally. But tonight, she's focused on winning her chamber qualifying match. So Zelina's got her qualifying match to go. She's trying to make it right for her and Aleister. Couple of the year, right? Totally. But now we finally get Carmelo Hayes coming out to the ring. And we actually get a promo from him. It's not just, the United States Open Challenge. He cuts a promo and says that for 48 days, he's been trying his best to honor the United States Championship and its legacy. So he then announces that next week he will be participating in the Elimination Chamber qualifying match and finishes with saying that when he shoots, he does not miss. And gets back on track with his match tonight against Ilya Dragunov. So Ilya comes out, does his thing, but as soon as they're about to start wrestling for a match, Solo Sikoa and his MFTs come out. Solo says that Ilya does not deserve this U.S. title match, saying that he shot and he missed. Ilya grabs the mic and says Solo lost his qualifying match last week to Randy Orton, and his family was even there to have his back. I guess they weren't kidnapped. I guess they're okay. They just chose to leave the arena early. I don't know. We don't really know why they just disappeared. We still don't know. But they're back, so at least they weren't taken, right? Things quickly escalate from when it looked to be a one-on-one to now a massive brawl with Solo and the MFTs, Carmelo and Ilya. Then Matt Cardona and Apollo Crews come out to try and even the odds, but it's still 4-on-5. The MFTs still have the advantage, but out of nowhere comes Shinsuke Nakamura, giving the good guys an even Steven advantage. And so now all 10 guys are brawling all over the place. And SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis comes out, says he likes the intensity that these 10 guys are given. And he wants to put a rain check on that United States title match between Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, and wants to set up a massive 10-man tag for tonight between every guy in that ring, every guy involved. So basically, after this commercial break, we immediately get Solo Sikoa and his MFTs versus Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, Matt Cardona, Apollo Crews, and Shinsuke Nakamura. But I love the idea of this kind of match because you already know it's going to be absolute chaos, like no matter what happens. And especially when you combine the fact that the MFTs are like crazy people, like it's fun. It's fun. I already knew this thing was going to be chaos. I hope something good comes out of the fact that Apollo Crews is back. Now he's not just there to, give other talent a rub. He should be able to get his own spot. And he's been given the ball and ran with it a few times in the past. So I think he could, right? But, it helps that he won tonight, right? It helps that his team won. I wanted to also note that Matt Cardona's ass was almost exposed on national television. And that would have been nuts, but thankfully for all involved, it did not happen. We did not get a wardrobe malfunction. We got a little cheek action, but that's about it. Right? We didn't get full exposure. So I'm happy with that. The last 5 minutes of this match were absolutely fucking incredible. Offense was coming from every which way. Finishers were being hit nonstop. You just couldn't keep your eyes off of it. It was pure cinema. I didn't know who was going to win. Everybody was hitting finishes. It was chaos. Tama Tonga of the MFTs, though, finally gets the advantage once everybody's cleared and hits Carmelo Hayes with the cutthroat after a mid-air Samoan spike just before that by Solo Sikoa. And the MFTs pick up a huge win over the United States champion. The United States champion gets pinned right there and then. And as Solo and the MFTs are celebrating with the Wyatt family lantern in hand, all proud of themselves, suddenly the arena goes dark. And that can only mean one thing. The Wyatt Six show up, all the way in the rafters, all the way in the nosebleeds, just to remind the MFTs that the feud between them isn't over and that they will be back. They just showed up ominously and said, "We ain't done with you yet." So I imagine that we'll hopefully get a blow off to that. Uh, so that, excuse me, both teams can move on properly. But good stuff. Great match. Absolutely great match. But we then cut to a backstage segment where Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair are chatting about the Royal Rumble and how it went down with Charlotte accidentally eliminating Alexa. But Charlotte apologizes to her, and Alexa replies with the fact that it's not her fault. It's really Nia Jax's fault. But Charlotte replies with that tomorrow, being Valentine's Day, quote unquote, and all, she brings her a bouquet of really pretty flowers. They're like black and white. They're really cool looking. And a picture of a picture of Charlotte, signed by Charlotte, saying, quote, "To Blister, my bestie." Imagine calling your best friend Blister. Like, that's like, wow, I'm a blister to you. Like, what the like? I get her last name is Bliss. I get it's a fun little play on words. But a blister? I mean, that sounds like a hindrance rather than a term of endearment, right? Like, I wouldn't want to be blister. To Blister, my bestie, I love you as big as the sky. And she's, close quote, that's what she wrote, signed by her. And she says that the best gift of all is that she will be accompanying Bliss to her qualifying match tonight, and Alexa is fine with that. But before she leaves, she tells Charlotte to bring the picture. Bring the picture. I need the picture and the flowers. I need it to win. Their friendship is so strange but so great. And like, it's so fun to watch. They're so funny. This is probably some of the best stuff Charlotte's done in a long time. And I think everybody can agree on that. Not that she hasn't done great stuff, but this is probably some of her best stuff. What she's doing right now. So, absolutely great stuff. So fun to watch those two. But we then cut to another backstage segment with R-Truth and Damian Priest. And Nick Aldis, SmackDown general manager, brought them in for a reason, calls Priest in and informs him that he will be in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match for next week with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Priest is obviously happy by this, but before they leave, before anything happens, Kit Wilson barges in and is upset at Nick Aldis for how he was treated last week and chooses to weaponize his words this week instead of his fists. So he has a poem book in his hand, and due to it being Valentine's season and all, he brings out the book, opens the poem up, and says this. So he recites this poem from this book, and he writes, "Monday Night Raw is red, SmackDown is blue. Real men express feelings unlike you. You award meatheads, your leadership obnoxious. Wake up, Nick! You are toxic." Close quote. He gets a laugh out of everybody. I mean, probably not a laughing good laughing, but laughing at you. Kit takes offense to this and saying he's too emotionally unintelligent to enjoy a real poem, not just Priest, but anybody in that room. And the only real men would appreciate such art. But Truth comes up with his own poem for Kit. This was the one I was reading at first. Oh, God. Okay. This is another example why our Truth is a national treasure. So, quote unquote, violets are blue, roses are red. Did y'all see when Oba put Kit on his head? He said he the real man. Dog, you can't even go. Uh-oh, I think you lost your manhood because I see a camel toe. I was not expecting this. When I first heard that, I could not stop laughing. Oh my god, our Truth is so funny. Anyway, so that gets everybody laughing, and Kit Wilson's obviously done with this. He's out, he's done with it, he's over it. And so that's really all that was. Just harmless Valentine's Day fun. Oh my god. So funny. And then we cut to our next women's Elimination Chamber qualifying match, where we'll find out the third woman to join Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton. So this is between Alexa Bliss, Julia, and Zelina. But, you know, when you look at the three of these women, this probably was like the hardest to predict out of the Chamber qualifying matches this week. But it's obviously Alexa, right? We need to focus on Julia being a better United States champion. I think we need to see her defend her title more. I think we need to see her develop her character more. I don't think it's time for her to be in the spot. And the same thing with Zelina. I think Zelina has something really cool here, probably something cooler than she's ever had here with Aleister Black, and I think we still need time to tell that story, and I want her to get to that point. But it's obvious, again, that Alexa Bliss is probably your best situation for this particular situation, right? But this match was solid. All three look great. You want to see it. But Kiana James eventually gets involved, trying to get Julia to win. But Zelina ends up taking both Kiana James and Julia out. And as Zelina's potentially looking to take the win, Bliss catches her and hits her with Twisted Bliss. So that's the win. That's the win right there. And Alexa Bliss will now join Tiffany Stratton and Rhea Ripley in the upcoming Women's Elimination Chamber match. And she's got the picture of Charlotte. She's got the flowers in her hand. They seem to be happy. The besties are vibing. We're chilling. We like to see that. But we get another backstage segment. We got Tiffany Stratton walking backstage, and she sees Jordynne Grace, who challenges Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship tonight. And Grace welcomes Tiffany back for the first time since she came back at the Rumble. They haven't had an interaction really ever. Maybe, I don't know. I have to look back again. But Tiffany says that she wouldn't mind facing Grace at WrestleMania instead of Jade Cargill. And Grace agrees to this, saying she will get it done. But she ran into Chelsea Green, Tiffany did, who's in a pink wheelchair. Got Secret Service, Alba Fire pushing her around. She's got this big brace on her ankle, and I'll get into that a little later. Chelsea Green says she blames the ankle for not winning her chamber qualifier last week, and that all of it was on Tiffany Stratton and her Tiffy time, and demands an apology from Tiffy. Tiffy says that if she wanted an apology, she could have, quote unquote, stepped up and asked, but oh wait, you can't. The way she delivered that quote was crazy. Chelsea tells her secret Hervis Alba Fire to get her. I swear to God, that's how she said it. Look it up. Look it up. Get her. And they go chasing her, but Chelsea just doesn't want to do it. They back away. Yeah, she is so funny. Gosh, man. Humor gets you far in this business. It does. It actually really does. That's why she still honestly has a really good shot for a world title one day. I think her charisma is just up there. But we're still chilling backstage. Ray Phoenix is getting ready for his match against Trick Williams tonight, the one that was kind of set up last week. And Sami Zayn comes up to him and tries to talk to Ray about how he was there for him last week after he was all upset, and he appreciates his words of encouragement and wishes him luck against Trick tonight and hopes he can teach him a lesson. And he'll take the words that Ray Phoenix gave him into his Elimination Chamber qualifying match tonight with Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. So we've got to focus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's feeling a little better. And Ray Phoenix is getting ready to go against Trick Williams just for bragging rights, just to say, hey, you don't come around here and you don't just talk what you want. But we get a little break, and then out comes Trick Williams, ready for his match against Ray Phoenix to the ring. He's calling Sami Zayn Mr. Can't Get It Done again. You know, he says the best stuff. He's got all the tools to be the champion. He's got all the tools to be the guy. He's already been TNA World Champion. He's already been NXT Champion. The sky's the limit for Trick Williams. He's just so funny. He's got the lemon peppa steppas. That's his line. He loves saying that, and it's just so. I just dropped my water bottle. But anyway, during the match, the crowd was chanting "Whoop that Trick." The crowd's obviously behind Trick Williams, and for the most part, Trick had a good control of this thing. Ray Phoenix had a little bit of offense scattered here and there, and when he did hit offense, I mean, it hit, it delivered. But ultimately, Trick had his number, and Trick got the win. And he needed that win, honestly. He needs the momentum going into his triple threat with Carmelo Hayes and Damian Priest now for his shot at the Elimination Chamber and at WrestleMania. So good win for Trick. We want to see Trick and the future superstars get that spot, get that win. Oh, I gotta pick up my water. And then we get to another backstage segment where we see Rhea Ripley and Io Sky recovering from the brawl they had earlier in the night with Nia and Lash, and notice a very upset Julia after losing her chamber qualifying match. And Rhea basically asks if she's mad about it, bro. And Io also says that she can always just take that United States Championship since she's already been beaten. And Julia, already upset, just starts losing it. These two are rage baiting her top tier, and they're doing a great job at it. She gets pulled away after just yelling at him in Japanese. Kiana James does a good job at that. And then, when it seems like that's over, WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill stares the two down, aura farming at all costs, because that's what she does. She's a great aura farmer. And just walks away. She doesn't say a word. She just looks at Rhea, she looks at Io, and then walks away. This was before her big title match against Jordynne Grace tonight. And one thing about this match that was unique between Jordynne Grace and Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship, because that's basically what came up next. Both women were being introduced, and Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio come out. And they come out with a whole dating table, 2 plates of chicken nuggets, because Dominic loves chicken nuggets. So they got 2 plates of chicken nuggets, flowers, champagne with Dom's face on it. And Liv and Dom are just having a date. They just wanted to watch this match ringside because Liv obviously still needs to pick either Jade Cargill or Stephanie Vaquer for a title match at WrestleMania. So, with that being said, this is a solid match, right? This puts Jordynne Grace in her first big kind of title match. And she delivered here, right? I think she's going to be the future. Both women are built like freaking goddesses. They're cut like crazy. Great shape. But this is a great match, right? Jade hits Jaded at the end though to win the WWE or to still be WWE Women's Champion. We knew kind of Jade wasn't going to lose this thing going into WrestleMania because I just don't see it. If there's going to be a major title change, it'll end up being at WrestleMania, right? So anyway, as she wins this match, she goes and confronts Liv Morgan and says she hopes too that Liv picks her at WrestleMania because she will whoop her ass. So Liv is in a situation now, again, where both women are looking at her challenge for WrestleMania and saying, I don't care nothing about it. You know, challenge me. I will whoop your ass all the same. Neither woman seems to be bothered by Liv's WrestleMania pursuits. So it's very curious to see which side of the fence Liv will end up going down. Another backstage segment, we see Johnny Gargano. You know how I feel about this. We see him reeling over the events of the last few weeks with his partner leaving for AEW, him losing the mask, the tag titles. It's been rough. But his wife, Candice LeRae, is trying to help him out. He lays back on the box, the same box, but at least he speaks this week by saying that he's lost everything and that he's got nothing. But Candice is like, I'm right here, you're right. I'm your wife, you know. I'm still here. And she swears that she's gonna fix this. And she wheels Johnny on top of his box away. And then I guess the teams of Motor City Machine Guns and Fraxium were watching on as this was going on and laughing because they just think it's all a joke. Like most people, I guess, think Johnny's a joke. Unfortunately, that's where we are. So the MFTs walk by them with the lantern. You know, they got their big win tonight over that all-star group, if you want to call it overall an all-star group. I guess it is, right? So they laugh hysterically at him. There seems to be no way that they're gonna get their shot against the MFTs and Solo. Solo's talking about we better than y'all, we the best. And then they walk past them, and Solo sees this drawing of his head with a lantern in his mouth. Now, again, if you recall, if you know any kind of knowledge from back in like 2019, 2020, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, always carried out a lantern with his head and a lantern in his mouth. So, it seems pretty fitting here that they got Solo's head with a lantern inside of it. It seems to be a disturbing way to say, do not keep poking this bear. Because if you do keep poking this bear, you're going to have some problems. In other words. And as Solo tears this drawing off the wall, the Wyatt 6 static cuts through the screen. And that's that. So, I do love the Wyatt 6. For sure. But I think we need to see a payoff eventually. You know, I like payoffs. We have 2 more backstage segments. We got free agent Obafemi. We don't know what side he's on yet. But tonight, I think we basically confirmed it. I think Oba's on SmackDown now officially. He got his contract. Nick Aldis was trying to get him to sign it. But Kit Wilson, Kit does not know when to stop. Kit comes storming in again and says that everyone around here is toxic. But he notices exactly who's in the room. He's looking at this massive man in Obafemi. And he's like, oh my god, I shouldn't have shown up. Oh no. And he got his poem book, and it looks like he was about to read another one off of where he realized Obafemi was in the room. And Nick tells this. Nick knows this. So Nick's like, oh, let me see what poem you've got there. So he takes Kit Wilson's book, sees it has a bookmark in it, and then opens it up and begins to read this poem apparently directed towards Obafemi. that was written by Kit Wilson. So I will recite it now. Roses are red, but I don't give a damn. You may be big and strong, but really, you're an insecure man. Your actions are toxic, and it's plain to see. You're no match for a real man like me. You march and you stomp into every town. They're laughing at you, you sad little clown. Oh, what a line, dude. Kit Wilson is just so good. He's a true real man. He's just great. Okay? That's just a great poem. Great 2 poems. Just so funny. Ova's like shocked by this. And he says that he can meet Kit in the ring next week if there's some untalked about feelings that he'd like to have sorted out. In other words, he's looking to kick his ass bad. And Kit walks away. Kit walks away after the fact that Oz accepted the match. So next week will be probably a squash match between Obafemi and Kit Wilson. Shouldn't have talked your mess, Kit, but you're still the true real man. So keep calling out that toxicity. Watch out. We got our final backstage segment of the week. We got Kathy Kelly talking to the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre about the competitors that are already in the chamber and about the qualifying match tonight with Cody, Jacob, and Sami Zayn. He tells Cody that he will never get close to his title again. And he tells Fatu that he's used to being locked up. And if he sees him at WrestleMania, he'll wish he was still behind bars. Oh my god. Drew's calling out Jacob's arrest history and his turnaround in life, which is nuts. He finishes with Sami Zayn. But before he can mention Sami Zayn comes out. He confronts him and says he wants to say that stuff to his face. He wants Drew to tell him that to his face, and he wants a match. And he wants that spot. He wants it so bad. He wants to beat that fucking record. That 0-12, 0-13 record that I can never beat Drew record. Sami just wants to beat Drew, but not only beat Drew, but he wants to be world champion. Drew wants Sami to win. Drew agrees. He wants Sami to win. Out of the 3 guys in the match, he wants Sami to win the most. And not only probably because he thinks it's the easier of the 3, in his opinion at least, but because he believes he's a good person and wishes him luck. He walks away and Sami is just in shock that a guy who has targeted him for years at this point is wishing him luck and wants him to win. So, yeah, he was shocked by that one. But we kick off our main event, our final match of the evening, our final match of the week. Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu versus Sami Zayn in a triple threat Elimination Chamber qualifying match. And it sucks, right? Because I think all 3 of these guys deserve a spot in the chamber. I think they all have an alibi for at least being in the chamber match. Not going to WrestleMania maybe, but at least being in the chamber match. This was a loaded qualifier. All 3 guys deserved it. And the thing is, like, Cody's the guy. Cody's the face of the company. Cody's the man. So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to root for him when you know. You just know. It'll probably be Cody versus Drew at WrestleMania. I'm calling it now. I think anybody who's watched wrestling about as long as I have would basically think that that's where we're going, right? I mean, this thing's been going on for months now. This is proper of a WrestleMania main event feud. I feel like this will culminate between Cody and Drew at WrestleMania. Obviously, I think Cody will end up winning the world title again. I just gave up my whole WrestleMania prediction right here now, right? And Cody's going to walk out of WrestleMania 42 the man, for sure. From the outset, Fatu used his size and power to dominate the early exchanges. while Sammy showcased his resilience and quick offense, his underdog mentality. But Cody, ever the strategist, weathered the momentum swings and just kept himself in contention. But as the action heated up, the match between the two or three became more than just fighting. It became a collision of past rivalries, unfinished business. And speaking of past rivalries and unfinished business, WWE Champion Drew McIntyre comes out to the ring and targets both Cody and Fatu in a bid to prevent Cody Rhodes from winning. He does not want to see Cody Rhodes in the chamber match at WrestleMania at all. He wants to avoid that as much as possible. He hates Cody Rhodes. This has been weeks of verbal sparring, physical altercations. This is gonna culminate. This has to culminate. The chaos McIntyre injected disrupted the flow. It created confusion and gave Fatu and Sammy opportunities to capitalize on this chaos and craziness, but in the end, Cody managed it all. He connected with Crossroads to pin Sami Zayn and secure the victory. And he will join Randy Orton and LA Knight, not only in the men's chamber, but for a closer shot at Drew McIntyre for WrestleMania. I think Cody and Drew is the way to go. I think it's the way they're going. It can't be denied at this point. I don't know, like, the back three that you have, who else would match up to Cody in his intentions, right? I don't think he's the focal point of WrestleMania this year, like he was when he was finishing the story and the year before that. But he's gonna be in the world title scene, right? He's gonna win this chamber match. He's gonna go on to WrestleMania and face Drew McIntyre to kind of culminate this very personal feud that's been going on for months, which I would think would be the smart call. To try and build a shorter feud with less time would kind of be silly, I think there's been a lot brewing with Cody and Drew, and I think this is a good way to close it off and give Cody something new afterward. But overall, like I said, I think this episode of SmackDown was way more entertaining than the other episodes. I think it delivered this week over Raw. And overall, I think we're doing a solid job at building towards Elimination Chamber with the matches and the promos and the segments that really matter and build up towards it. So we got 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks left of regular podcasts before I've got my Elimination Chamber review coming down the chute. Probably near the beginning of March, like the 1st or the 2nd or whatever. Somewhere around that line. But with that being said, that concludes the original report, and now we are going to go ahead and break into our next segment, which is News Break. All right, so we've got our first story. We've only got 4 stories on the line today. Kind of a short week, but also big week. I'll get into that in a second. Our first story comes from Chelsea Green, who we saw earlier on SmackDown, had some sort of ankle brace. But I think she basically confirmed that she had an ankle injury on Raw, or not Raw, last week's SmackDown, and that it's actually a fracture, just a fractured ankle. And we don't know exactly how long she'll be out and away from competition, but I hope they kind of keep her on television like they're doing now, right? Because I don't think Chelsea can afford to take more time away from the television. She's got to constantly be a face, and I'm glad that if it is real, because in this day and age, it's hard to tell, right? But if it's a real broken ankle, I'm glad they're using her for something, not just having her sit at home and wait till she comes back. She needs to still be talked about. She still needs to be relevant because she's that talented. But just don't involve her in any physicals, right? Just wait till she's cleared. She'll miss more time than originally thought of. No one originally thought it was anything serious. But as the days went on, and obviously on SmackDown, basically confirms our situation. So, prayers up, Chelsea. Hope she gets that ankle back up as soon as possible. And keep being entertaining, keep being you. Our second article comes from Mike Johnson of PW Insider. It's been revealed that AJ Styles has discussed a new deal with the WWE before the Royal Rumble event. Both parties are discussing his future with the company, although there's no sign that a deal is on the cards. Styles is free to listen to other offers from other promotions like AEW or TNA when his current deal expires, but nothing's been confirmed or denied about any of this stuff. This is just speculation that there have been at least talks to table about a potential contract extension of some kind for AJ Styles. When he spoke to Stephanie McMahon on her What's Her Story podcast, which was a great episode, by the way, I enjoyed that episode. He talked about this retirement match and what he meant by not leaving the gloves in the ring. And he basically implied that it's a never mean never situation, right? For the most part, most wrestlers who retire will usually come back once. I hope that John Cena is the unique one that breaks the code of that and actually means what he says. That doesn't mean I'm disagreeing with AJ potentially coming back. I'm just saying, like, not a lot of wrestlers actually stay retired, right? There's always another match down the chute, some point, some way. We look at Shawn Michaels, who at that point was probably the most clear example of a guy who retired and stayed retired, but even he came back. So, it's never known. This is all just speculation. He might also be doing a WWE like producer role in WWE. He could be producing the matches backstage, which might even make the product overall better. So no matter what AJ Styles decides to do, whether in the wrestling business or otherwise, he's earned it. So I'm supporting him every step. And our third story comes from just from the brass themselves. WWE has lowered the ticket prices to WrestleMania down by 25% off for a limited time just for this week, I think. And this is a response to the fact that everything is so expensive. This comes at no surprise to me, considering WrestleMania is not doing a good job selling out. Which if you could have told me that at any point in time, that WrestleMania was having a hard time selling out, then there's problems. And the problem simply is that they've charged so much money for these tickets. When I first went to my first Raw, Monday Night Raw, Richmond, Virginia, it was not this expensive. You can give Vince McMahon whatever grief or hell you want to give him, but that man made those tickets affordable and made a family of 3 or 4, for the basic part, be able to go to this show. It was something that used to be affordable. And now it's $800 to $1,000 minimum to just sit in the nosebleeds, to not even get a good view of anything. And to me, that's not right. And to me, that's not fair. And to me, that is not what WWE is about or should be about. It should be accessible. It should be affordable. I know you're trying to make money, but you're making money in so many other ways. You're making money just off of Saudi Arabia alone. You're making money based off of merch sales alone. You're making money just based on the superstars just being them alone. Because any appearances they do, all that stuff, that's all more money in your bank account. So it's not an issue of not making money. It's an issue of let's make more money instead of try and make a better business plan for your common average American Joe. I've already confirmed to me personally that I will not be attending a Super Bowl. I don't care if the Commanders ever end up in it or what. I can't drop a damn near down payment on going to a Super Bowl. And WWE's trying to copy that. They're trying to do that, but the difference is is that wrestling is so much different than football. You know, like it's performative. It's theater. Are you really telling me you're paying more for a theater? Like the same price for a theater show than a Super Bowl? That shouldn't even be comparable. But WWE clearly is trying to play themselves on a big stage, and they're charging ridiculous prices for the things that they're offering. Because as much as I love professional wrestling, and as much as I love the art, the storytelling, the performative arts, it is not worth thousands of dollars to go to WrestleMania for a nosebleed. It's not. It's not. And I don't blame the fans for not showing up. Something else needs to be done. It needs to be more than 25%. That I can tell you. Needs to be that. But anyway, that's the rant over. Make WWE affordable. That's all I ask for. And maybe I'll go to another show again. And same thing with AEW, right? Same thing with any wrestling. Make it affordable. That's the bottom line. You gotta make it affordable. And then our final story, and I think this is a pretty cool story. Former WWE Women's Champion and ECW original Jazz has announced that she will be a coach for the WWE Performance Center in 2026. This is the post that she put out there, and this is really cool. I think the more veteran presence that you have in the PC, the better off the talent will be, right? And you've already got a loaded group in there with Norman Smiley, I think, still in there, and Matt Bloom, and she's only going to add further experience and insight to these future up and coming superstars that is needed. So I think that's good for Jazz. I'm glad that Jazz found something that she can do for her that seems to benefit her, but not only benefit her, but benefit the future, which is always in motion, right? So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that's all I have to report. It was a great week. Thank you all so much for joining me on this episode of the Rasslin Report, and I will see you all next week, baby. Woo!